Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Call. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Sarah Henderson from the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Southwest Cedar Rapids. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You've got an event coming up that is about art. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so as the director of outreach and innovation, my sort of world is all things programs and all things education. And so I work through the school year with local high school students from metro high schools, STEAM Academy, where we do project-based learning, and then Iowa Big, also where we do project-based learning. And all my students this year just sort of happened to be really focused on public art. So we had a student group who's installing these giant metal Kolache bench sculptures. So they look like kolaches. They've got a hammock in the center where the filling would be. And they're working with a local metal artist, Kara Briggs Farmer. And they've like actually designed these over the course of a year. And then I have two other student groups who are designing murals and putting those up this May. And I just happened to have an artist reach out to me about rental costs. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, what kind of event are you planning? Maybe we could do something together. And he's like, well, I want to do some sort of art fair. Artists haven't been able to sell their work in over a year. It's crippling to all of us as far as income. And I was like, well, I have students who want to show off their art projects. I think we've got some sort of gel here that we can do. So we've called it the Iowa Pop Art Market. We'll have student booths where students are showing off and unveiling these public artworks to Czech Village. And then we have up to 22 local Iowa artists who will be showing their work for the first time since the pandemic, selling their work, doing demonstrations. One of our student groups may still be painting their mural live. We'll have kids activities like screen printing, sort of in honor of Andy Warhol, who was a Slovak actually. So there's kind of the connection with pop art. And yeah, I think just for me as someone who works in public events and education and art, it's just really exhilarating that this is right around the corner. It feels like there's a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. Everything will be social distance. We'll still be wearing masks, but it's May 15, which really is like less than 2 weeks away now.
And that will also be during traditional Hobie Days, which will be going on with some modifications.
Yeah. And the big thing with Hobie Days, I think, is they're doing this sort of pop-up market down Czech Village sort of street. And if you just round the corner at the clock tower, you'll see some of our vendors and artists around Circle Drive. So you can kind of just continue the walk up our big staircase, and inside will be a bunch more artists and students waiting to show you their work.
So there, mainly it'll be in the museum itself, but there'll be some of the art will be outside. So, but the actual artist exhibits will be inside.
Yeah, but we are working with two artists, Chain Breakers and Kara Briggs Farmer, who do large scale metal sculptures. So they will mainly be around Circle Drive. So you'll kind of be able to see their displays outside, weather pending, obviously, in Iowa. And then once you head inside, you'll see all the more traditional artist booths who don't have to carry giant sculptures up staircases.
Okay, I have to ask, tell me just a little bit more about the Kolache benches.
Yes, absolutely.
So a bench in the shape of a Kolache with a hammock in the middle?
Yes. Yeah, it's wild. So I had these two very inspired students who actually came up with this idea themselves. They were challenged over a year ago now, maybe 2 years ago, by Main Street to come up with some creative placemaking for Czech Village. And placemaking, think of something that really like is enigmatic of a place. A mural can be this, but usually it's something more sort of three-dimensional that really just brings your heart to that place. And so these students started doing a bunch of research. And of course, there's like in Minneapolis, the giant cherry sculpture, and like food is very close to, I guess, like memory making and placemaking. And obviously the Kolache is like the most symbolic aspect of Czech Village. And they got really obsessed with this idea of a hammock, as some sort of hammock. They thought that that would just be fun, dynamic, something to crawl on. And they ended up coming up with this design where, yeah, you sit on sort of the dough part of the Kolache, and they're massive. They're like 8 feet diameter, I'm pretty sure. And then we're using Amsteel, which is like, it's not a rough sort of material, but it is really sturdy. It's like a steel sort of netting material, and that'll be the center, and it'll be painted with a light underneath to look like different Kolache fillings. So they've got like a berry Kolache, apricot Kolache, sort of all the standard Kolache flavors.
So you sit on the dough part, not the hammock part. Or can you sit in the hammock too?
You can kind of lean back on the hammock. You can crawl all over it. So they're less of a bench. A bench really, it's like a climbable sculpture. Yeah.
There have been a lot of those public sculptures over the years here and everywhere, but
yeah,
I think this one's unique.
100% is, because two teenagers designed it and then found an artist to make their vision come to life. So, and they fundraised the entire project by themselves. They recruited students who are interested in learning welding, sort of as a workforce development thing. And this is all what project-based learning is. We get students really passionate about something, and then they learn like design skills, math and art and fundraising and writing. And we had students who were interested in welding. So now they've got real hands-on welding experience with an artist. If they want to go do an apprenticeship when they graduate, they're ready for that. So it's really exciting for a museum to be participating in this kind of educational model.
It's the Iowa Pop Art Market during Hobie Days on May 15th at the museum. So if you are cruising Czech Village, make sure that you round the corner by the clock tower and head up. And while you're there, people should really take advantage of the current traveling exhibit, The Bias Inside Us. Can you tell me just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the timing of this was actually perfect for us. That's the second to last day of a month-long sort of pop-up exhibit, not to use pop again. Quite frankly, it is like a pop-up Smithsonian exhibit that we've got. It's really state-of-the-art. It's very hands-on, engaging, very scientific. So it studies the psychology and biology of our brains and physically how they create bias just naturally. It's a human constraint that our minds sort of have, but it comes with all these toolkits within the exhibit of how we can fight the bias that just inherently is created over time through our experiences. And that's from Smithsonian. Like I said, we only have it for a month, and the Iowa Pop Art Market will be the second to last day of it closing. So it's a perfect sort of last minute, get in on Saturday, do some shopping, see this exhibit before it leaves town forever.
National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library is hosting the Iowa Pop Art Market. And again, on the 15th, it's just a couple of days before the end of the traveling Smithsonian exhibit, The Bias Inside Us. If people want more information about any of these things, they can visit your website, of course. Sarah, what's that?
ncsml.org.
Sarah Henderson from the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library, ncsml.org. Sarah, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dennis.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or using your favorite podcast app. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.